Welcome to Dr. John Andrew Morrow's Polymath Podcast, where we educate, enlighten, and inspire. If you like our content, please subscribe. And if you don't like it, subscribe as well. There's no harm in doing that. In today's session, we're going to be talking about Christopher C. Alston, an early eyewitness. Is he reliable? Is he trustworthy? Can we depend upon him? Christopher C. Alston was born in 1913. He passed away in 1995. He was born in Florida and moved to Detroit when he was 3. His father was an auto worker who earned his L in the early 1920s. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Moors, when they lose their slave name, they adopt L as their family name. Just like in the Nation of Islam, they would drop their slave name and they would take an X. Christopher Alston was raised in the Moorish Science Temple of America and attended children's classes there. He witnessed the splintering of the movement and the battle for leadership that took place in late 1930. He also claims to have met, known, and listened to W.D. Farad. Christopher C. Alston was a committed and militant communist. He was a competent and respected labor and union organizer and activist. He was 17 years old when W.D. Farad arrived in Detroit in 1930. He was 21 when he left in 1934, hence he was old enough to remember him well. However, Les Payne interviewed him in 1993 when he was 80 years old. His testimony came over 60 years after the events they described and appeared to have been colored by information acquired over half a century. What is more, most of his claims lack verification from second and third parties. According to Christopher C. Alston, Farad sold rugs, carpets from samples that he brought around. Initially, he didn't have anything to do with this movement at all. He came to our house at 981 Leland and other people's houses. He was a very nice guy. I remember him as a boy. My family bought a rug from him. This description, which provides no added information, there's nothing new there, is sound, as it has been verified by other sources. According to Christopher C. Alston, we knew Farad for a couple of years in the neighborhood here before he was associated with the temple. So that's the key thing. He said a couple of years. According to Alston, my father knew Farad. He said this fellow has been coming around the temple. The temple was on Livingston and Hastings Street. It was called the Moorish American Temple of Science, and they had rented a building or bought a building from the Masons. They used the whole building with classrooms and auditorium and everything in it. Farad said he was from the Middle East. That's all he said. I don't know what he was. He looked Egyptian, a very sharp nose and light skin. He had straight hair. He was definitely light-skinned. He never denied that he was black. He claimed that when Noble Drew Ali came to Detroit, Farad met him, talked to him, and cooperated with him. It was an honest thing. He wasn't trying to make a racket out of it. He was from the East, and Drew Ali was talking about an Eastern thought, so it all fitted and it attracted him. They had large crowds, but Farad never appeared at these large crowds and said anything. He left the leadership to Noble Drew Ali and the others. He would appear, but he never tried to dominate the scene at all. He definitely had a relationship and was in contact with Noble Drew Ali. He was like following the line. This is all chronologically impossible. W.D. Farad was released from San Quentin in California on May 27, 1929. Noble Drew Ali died on July 20th, 1929. There is no way that W.D. Farad was in Detroit for several years or a couple of years before he joined the MSTA. He was locked up at the time. Even if he was released at the end of May 1929, that would have given him less than 2 months to join the movement, earn the trust of its leader, take charge of its finances, and plot to replace Noble Drew Ali. Christopher C. Alston claimed that Farad was an excellent listener and a good salesperson who spoke mostly about the problems of Negroes in America. Incidentally, he was in favor of the Japanese. While it is confirmed that W.D. Farad was pro-Japanese, he was long gone when World War II broke out in 1938. Alston seems to have suffered from a temporal overlap in his memories. Christopher C. Alston also alleged that W.D. Farad was attracted to Noble Drew Ali because the latter was exceptionally soft, incredibly quiet, and a tremendous organizer. In his words, that fitted the personality of Farad also. They associated together at the Moorish Science Temple here in Detroit. That's where he started off, and it was logical. Noble Drew Ali was in Chicago and Detroit and other cities. He set up things all around, and Farad never tried to take control. Now this I know of the organization. It was a spiritual thing. That's what Drew Ali wanted to be, and that's what he was. This information is entirely imagined. Was Alston seeking fame by association? Did he want to become famous in his final days for his presumed ties to W.D. Farad? Whoever he was talking about, if what he was saying was even true, that person was not W.D. Farad. According to Christopher C. Alston, W.D. Farad was not a member of the MSTA in the 1920s, the years in which the young Alston attended children's classes. He came later, he clarified, and would talk to us about life in the East. And he did talk about life in Japan too. He said he had been to Japan. This is preposterous. W.D. Farad never taught classes for children in the MSTA. It was Noble Drew Ali who shared legends of Morocco, as Alston explained in another part of the interview. He seems to be confusing Noble Drew Ali with Farad. It's possible, however, that W.D. Farad spoke about the brief time he spent in Japan. Ships out of Karachi would make port in Japan. The next port of call was Hawaii. They had to fuel up. And finally, they reached their destination in California, typically Los Angeles or San Francisco. Alston seems to have been suffering from cognitive glitches, in which the names and identities of people are mixed up. This happens to healthy minds. It increases with aging and becomes more serious with Alzheimer's. After Noble Drew Ali died on July 20th, 1929, killed by the authorities according to Alston, W.D. Farad seized the moment to take power. He was paroled on May 27, 1929. According to the 1930 census, which was conducted in April of that year, W.D. Farad, then going by the name of William Farad, was living in Chicago. All right? Known as William Fard or William Farad, we know he was in Chicago in April of 1930. It's possible that he was living in Chicago between June 1929 and July 1929. He could have lived there until June 1930. However, by July 4th, 1930, W.D. Farad was residing in Detroit. Unless Alston was confused and spoke of a couple of years of Farad in Detroit prior to 1929 instead of a couple of months, it's not plausible to believe his claims. Perhaps he was confusing W.D. Farad with another light-skinned foreigner who was preaching at the temple when he was a teenager. Alston may have created what is known as a mixed memory. According to Christopher C. Alston, his family was surprised when W.D. Farad, who was formerly faithful to the MSTA, surfaced in Detroit claiming to be the spiritual reincarnation of Drew Ali. As he remembered, Farad didn't seem to seek this deification for himself. Once again, Alston showed signs of confabulation, misattribution, and cryptomnesia, which are common in dementia. He was confusing concepts. Reincarnation and deification are two different things. Alston was confusing the report that W.D. Farad claimed to be Noble Drew Ali reincarnated with the report that W.D. Farad claimed to be God. Although there might be an occasional element of truth in Christopher C. Alston's testimony, it is clearly tainted because of cerebral degeneration. And thank you very much.